I started, I guess, business when I was 12, washing cars. But in terms of what I'm doing now, I'm not washing cars. It says start where you are, do what you can and use what you have. Chief exec, the head of security, the head of HR, the recruitment people saying, we will vouch for her to start in 7 days while her security clearance comes through. In-person networking can do something that online networking may never give you. The reason why I think networking is so important to business is...
Tash Pennant is a highly respected advisor known for her sound judgment underpinned by data-driven insights. With nearly 20 years of experience in communications and events, she is recognised as the connector for her ability to link individuals with opportunities and information. Tash founded Tash Pennant Consultancy over a decade ago and has worked with notable organisations such as the NHS, DWP, HSBC and National Grid. She recently left civil service after making a significant impact on ethnic minority business engagement and informing the landmark work now being done concerning women in business too. Alongside running Tash Pennant Consultancy, she is an ambassador for the Young Leaders Club, which supports young people to identify their roots into work or a vocation. So Tash, welcome to Trampoline's podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate this.
Yeah, of course. We haven't done one of these in quite a few months now, but people are enjoying them. They're asking for more. I had Paul, who was actually on the podcast. He asked me, he's like, "When's the next one coming out?" And I said,
Paul Mohammed, right?
Paul Mohammed.
Thank you, because I was thinking Paul.
Paul Mohammed. So yeah, Tash, for those of people watching who might not know who Tash is.
Yes.
So, tell us a little bit about who you are and your Tash Consultancy, is that right?
Tash Pennant Consultancy, yes.
Yeah.
So I'm Tash Pennant. I run my own consultancy, Tash Pennant Consultancy. Actually registered in 2012 because the backstory is I always wanted to run my own business. I started, I guess, business when I was 12, washing cars. But in terms of what I'm doing now, I'm not washing cars. I advise, I speak, connect, and specifically advising about how to understand government, but also sometimes business leaders and individuals want to access information opportunity. And I'm really good at connecting people to that. And then I speak because my journey to date has been really unusual. I have worked in a coal mine, worked in corporate settings, worked in the public sector, and I've worked a lot with leaders. So I understand from the cleaner to the CEO, I talk to a range of people, and that's why my business is so unique. Most people haven't done what I've done and don't have the insights that I have. So that's why I run Tash Pennant Consultancy.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, that you weren't always, you weren't run a business, and from the 12 years old, you said? Yeah. So when you was 12, what was the ideas? Was there was it always consultancy that you wanted to, go into? Or
well, technically, if you're washing a car, you're providing a service. So it's a service-based business. And the consultancy essentially is, can you provide an excellent finish and wax and a wash for a car? So at the time, it wasn't that. It was more the fact that I didn't have any pocket money. And so living in a situation where sometimes money is just, it's happening at the end of the month. Where's the rest of it? And so I was really clear that I wanted my own money. So I thought, well, how do I do that? And sometimes you can be in situations where you're asking funders, asking the people for more, and their responses are no, or you just know the situation and it's like, well, what can I do for myself? So I did what any enterprising person would do, take the actual washing bowl from the kitchen and get the sponges from the kitchen, which I wouldn't advise is a good idea, health and safety and hygiene, all that kind of stuff. But I knocked on my neighbours' doors and said, do you want me to wash your car for the grand sum of, guess what, £2 a car? I know. It sounds almost, what century was I living in? But at that time, £2 a car was a lot of money. And number one, it speaks to what I do now in terms of connection, so proximity to people, but also how do you have the confidence to knock on the door and to be that person where you literally are saying, do you want to work with me? Do you like and trust me? And they knew, liked and trust me because I lived next door and I had situations where I was tired, I was washing cars And they would come and knock on the door and say to my mum, oh, Tash has washed our car, but like it's not that great, there's streaks, and do it again. So how do you rectify customer service issues? Like, we'll go and wash the car again. So that's what happened there.
Yeah. And, like you mentioned, actually going out there and, offering the service and being, likable, and someone actually saying, okay, yeah, you can wash my car. There's a lot of businesses, they have everything in place, but they don't know how to, push the service they have. It might be a perfect service, right? They might have a lot to offer, but they're hesitant to speak to people, or their brand, they're a bit too shy. They're like, I can't, I don't want to go offer this.
Okay.
How important would you say for, because we work with a lot of startups,
Yes.
to those owners, like how important it is to actually put yourself out there, take your business to other people and show what you can offer?
Well, first of all, my degree was in marketing, advertising and PR. And the funniest thing is, even for myself, even today, sometimes I can feel nervous to tell people this is what I do. And it's really easy to tell other people, but you have to apply it to yourself. So when you are in business, imagine you have one of the best ever, I don't know, sandwiches in the world that you make. So I don't know, what sandwich have I made recently? I think I made a prawn avocado and a sriracha mayonnaise with a particular brand of bread. But imagine you made that sandwich, but you only had it in your house, my house. And you could really sell this. You have to be more visible, because how can people know about what you do? So including myself, as I'm talking to you, I'm telling this to myself, you have to be able to tell people, this is what I do. This is how I can help solve the challenges that you have. And sometimes that can be really scary, because you're thinking, well, I'm really good at this thing, but how do I tell people? So sometimes it can be writing down a script of when you're going to approach people. I work with a business coach, Daniela Genus, who runs Be the Boss International. And some of the work that she does with me is that, Tash, because you're so used to telling everybody about everybody else, because I'm very good at doing that, you now have to use those same skills for yourself. And I always liken skills transfer to this. I don't know if you've ever been to a massive shopping area. Starts with an I. I'm not sure if you're sponsored by any particular brands, but most people will kind of look online and try and work out the dimensions of particular things. They'll also look on an online marketplace, starts with an A, and they will do all this research. And then that same skill to be able to search for something, when it comes to looking at, well, where can I get access to information or funders or grants or even new customers? It's almost like, oh, I don't know. And that transferable skill of being able to search for something online and find the right thing to go in your home or to wear, how do you use those same skills to transfer it to your business? So if you want to be more visible, it's like, well, how can I do that? Am I on social media? Am I out talking to people, networking? What are people saying about me when I'm not in the room? So I would say one of sometimes the toughest things can be to exercise the muscle of self-promotion, because in UK culture, that hasn't been a really focused thing for a number of years. But now, because of influencer marketing and the way that people are saying, well, this is a particular brand of tea that I drink, and I hope that one day a particular brand will sponsor me. However, if you keep saying that and building your numbers, building your reach, building your influence, it's amazing how other people say, well, how can I work with you? How can I get to work with Tash Pennant Consultancy? So that's what I would say to that one.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, you done marketing in
I did marketing, advertising and PR at the time it was University of Central England in Birmingham. Then went to UC Birmingham, and now it is BCU, which is Birmingham City University, a fantastic university.
And how would you say marketing's changed since then?
Here's the thing. One of my lecturers said to me that the information companies, so I went to university 2004 to 2007, and I remember one of the marketing, I think it was marketing analysis or something, can't remember his name, but he said at the time, the data that companies hold on you will be more valuable than you are. And I just thought, what kind of madness is this? And throughout the years, for some people, this is kind of standard, but I don't know if you recall or anybody remember when things like loyalty cards used to come in. So now you cannot leave the house without actually, no, you can't leave the house without physical stuff because you've got it on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the biggest loyalty cards is with the supermarket beginning with T.
Mm-hmm.
I'm mindful I'm not sponsored by people, so I'm not saying their name because they're not paying me.
Yeah.
But if they want to pay me, you know where I am. So imagine if you collect the data. So if I go around, well, my particular supermarket begins with an S, and there's also one called the L that I go to because I'm in the same area.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that you're shopping and then you get to the end of the shop, everything that I've bought, they say, well, let's keep a record of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they then say, oh, you know what? Tash likes to buy avocados. That's one thing. There's a particular drink by one brand, which they're not paying me, so I can't say it.
Mm-hmm.
But at one point, they sent me I don't know if you've ever seen this review of the year, and it said I was the number one buyer of this particular drink in the supermarket, and they give me money off, vouchers, discounts, all of that data they're holding on me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm the one that's doing the shopping. It's something we know your behaviors and your habits. If we know your behaviors and your habits, how can we influence you to switch to a competitor brand or a different brand?
Mm-hmm.
And so all these things about the data that the companies hold on you is more valuable than you as a person. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've seen it in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I was thinking, well, that just sounds like really. And even now with AI, artificial intelligence, and the back of that is machine learning. So every single, I think the review of 2024, it said I'd had X amount of shops, I'd spent this amount of money, I'd saved this amount of money, I bought this product how many times, because my shopping data had been put into some algorithms,
Mm-hmm.
which then says to them, but what if we can get Tash to try there's different varieties of avocado. There's a Hass, there's a Fuerte, there's different ones I don't know. But I tend to have the Hass one, which has a kind of a rough skin. You may have seen it. It's kind of just a simple one, but there's one with a smoother skin called a Fuerte. How can we get it to swap to a Fuerte, which might be a bit more expensive? Apologies if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. But all of the data that they hold on me, it's really weird because at the time I wasn't thinking about it, but every time I get the end of year report on my shopping at different places, it lets me know that they're watching what I do. So how can they influence me to spend more, spend in different places? But also, what does it say about society where you can just give someone your phone and they can tell where you've been and what have you done? And how can they track your habits, your behaviors, and influence what you're doing?
Mm. And the company that the company you're referring to.
Oh, can I say that? Because I'm mindful of other people. I'm happy to say their names as long as they don't try and say, well, we can't say that. I don't know.
We can say the names.
Okay.
I think everyone knows, even without the name. But, what gets me is this company, they market it as the consumer has the power.
Of course.
And we've seen the ads where, the shopper is tapping everything and the prices are reducing. But were the prices ever those? So, you're shopping, but if you don't have that card that allows them to track every purchase you make,
mm-hmm.
you have to pay what? £10
You have to pay
extra?
a premium. And I don't have a Tesco card at this point in time. As the time of recording, I do not have a Tesco club card. So I've been the one in the middle of the shotgun. Has anybody got a card? Because I remember I had to go and buy some mint tea because someone wanted some tea.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was one price. I was thinking, this is not the right price.
Yes. It's not even like a fraction more. It's just...
I'm like, where are you buying this from?
Yeah.
Like the back of a lorry or something? But I appreciate, in order to build brand loyalty and customer loyalty, what can you keep doing to keep your customers engaged?
Yeah.
And part of that is not always the experience. It can be, but we have knowledge on you. You know full well that you only buy a particular brand of oh my gosh, an example would be, this is what happened with Sainsbury's. I buy Yorkshire Tea Gold, love Yorkshire Tea Gold. I got a voucher for Tetley's to say, we'll give you 200 points if you buy Tetley's every day. And I thought, these people, they're trying to influence me. But I said, no, I'm loyal to Yorkshire Tea Gold.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a crazy one because, there used to be a time you could just go into any supermarket and pay the normal price of a product. And now if you're not a member with them, you have to pay some premium price, which, that's plus the bags that used to be 5p that are now.
But if you look at the wider context of why we pay for bags, it's because if the plastics within our society, there was a time when it went from paper bags to plastic bags to, I don't know what we have. I'm still on.
What are they called? Life
bags.
Bag for life.
Bag for life. And it costs, I think it's 30 to 40 pence, then you can replace them. But I think microplastics at the time, so there was a time when shower gels had all these microplastics to exfoliate this, and then say, oh, no, it's going into the sea. The information we know now, did we know at the time? So even with the energy sector, there was fossil fuels, which has been used in a different way across the world. And then now you have renewable energies. And well, what are we doing to make sure we're sustainable? So sustainability for some people was always a point, but only in this era of environmental sustainability and governance, the ESG type era that we're in now. It's like, well, how is this a full circle business? What are you doing to contribute back to society? What are you doing to add value to the customers? And in business, depending on what your values are, depending on actually why you're functioning, what is your driver? Because making money is one, but then how is that linked back to the socio-economic development of either your community or your values and things that what's business may have been on the face of it, it's like, well, we're making money, that's great. But then where's all that money going? What are we supporting? How are we contributing to the ecosystem of business being sustainable? And the trampolinecic, I see that. So I didn't know about all the ins and outs until I met you guys, but it's been fantastic to hear the journey.
Yeah, so Trampoline actually, pushes that sustainability and, the ethical. It's not just about taking any business idea on board. It's about making sure, the cohort members understand that, this is how you run a business, but how can you do it in a more sustainable way, an ethical way? And the team actually went to South Bank University, and we was part of a circular economy workshop, and it was telling us all about how, on a micro scale, you can, your daily, the procedures, how you can make it more sustainable. And, it was very insightful. Like on the macro scale, obviously it's very difficult to tackle it because of the bigger, companies and, the monopolies that, you're not going to get rid of data centers anyway anytime soon.
Can I challenge you on that way of thinking?
Yep.
The reason why I want to challenge you on that, and sometimes people think that it feels so big, but there was a tennis player called Arthur Ashe, and he's got a quote, and if it's incorrect, please Google it. It says, start where you are, do what you can and use what you have. If a lot more people applied that mindset, the droplet that fills the sink, that fills the stream, that fills the river, that fills the ocean, that fills the sea, I'm not sure which is bigger. If more people had that mindset, I think we would get more done. If we all fold our arms and say, oh, it's just too big, it's just too much. There are movements that have started with somebody saying, well, I want to make a difference. I want to see a change. And I'm having to adopt that myself, because sometimes it can feel really daunting to, if I use an example of my career to date and why I do business the way that I do it, I've been in rooms where decisions are being made. Even most recently, I was with the chief exec of trampolinecic, Claudine Bongo, and we were sat with the Minister for Small Businesses, currently Gareth Thomas, and we were talking about access to finance. And it's those types of things where, well, what if we said no to the invitation to discuss the matters with the minister? What if we just said, well, it's too big a problem or too big a challenge, or it's nothing to do with us? Do we then, sometimes challenges can be opportunities turned inside out. And that ability to be, because I wouldn't be here unless I met Claudine in person. So she was on my right, and Professor Monda Ram, who is the founder and director of the Creme Institute in Aston University. And it's that thing of the synergies of, what about if one person goes, 2 people go, 3 people go, and we say, let's get together and make some stuff happen. I'm not saying we can fix everything by this mindset, but I think, how can you make a difference?
No, I totally get your point, because when the workshop started, there was examples, the speaker was giving macro scale examples, but by the end of the session, she told us to apply some of the examples to our own business.
Yes.
And that's when it became a little bit more, tangible.
Actionable.
Actionable. So then it starts to make sense. Like, okay, if we start doing this, then we can teach another business. And obviously working with so many businesses, reminding them, then it, like you said, the whole droplet.
Yeah.
We start, and then another business starts, and then another one, and then by the time you've got a whole community of businesses working in the same kind of flow. But yeah, no, that's a good point. Okay, yeah. So, like you mentioned earlier, going back to the networking, the importance. Just meeting you for this is the first time we've met. For people watching, I can tell you're someone who would happily talk to anyone, and make friends, connections. How important is that within business?
Okay.
Because just before you start, because we host a lot of networking events, and we stress the importance of coming. We've done one recently, good turnout, and you had all these businesses in the same community talking to each other, and they connecting. It was really, the engagement was really high, and now they're finding out that this person does that, this person can help me with that, I can help them with this, and it's just the simple step of coming to the networking event and just saying, oh, I do this, and then the person says, I offer this, and then, so yeah, what would you say?
So I speak on the power of networking because relationships matter. That's one of my keynote speeches, and the reason why I think networking is so important to business is, before the internet, I'm like, well, what did you guys do? How did you get to know people? You had to talk to people. And I think basic skills in life are the ability to communicate. And some people communicate in different ways. So sometimes if you're a non-hearing person, you have to learn sign language to say thank you, right?
Yeah.
I think that's right. If you are blind, like, you have to touch things. And I think the basic humanity of life is people want to know others. Some people don't, and that's fine. But in networking situations, imagine if you didn't get dressed and leave your house and look moderately tidy, smell fresh and clean, and talk to people. Sometimes the anxiety of going into networking situations and speaking to others can fill some people with dread, because you just don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to do this. From my perspective, I get energized by that. From other people, they're just like, I don't like it. And sometimes you're thinking, well, what am I going to say? Going back to the example of looking on the IKEA website or the Amazon website and having those transferable skills of, well, how do you find the right carpenter, plumber, or consultant or marketing person for the job that you want? And I get it. You've got AI saying you can go through all these people. But sometimes the best businesses come from me meeting people face to face. I remember one particular contract that I got early on in my business. My previous client had been Department for Work and Pensions. I went to a networking event run by Capita, and at this particular event in central London, they had this robot going around the room talking to people, and I was just like, "What is this madness?" Because this was 2015, and it was just bizarre. The client that I was about to get, they met me there, and then they called the previous client and said, hey, how's Tash? Is she good at what she does? And they said yes. I was then rushed into Crown Commercial Service within 7 days. Unfortunately for them, you have to have a certain level of security clearance. And because my previous client said Tash is good for it, she knows what she's doing, bring her in, I was brought in on a waiver from the chief exec, the head of security, the head of HR, the recruitment people, saying, we will vouch for her to start in 7 days while her security clearance comes through. In-person networking can do something that online networking may never give you, because you can see the whites of people's eyes. And sometimes you can be online, and if you're bored, you can just either put your camera off, or you can literally just be there staring into a screen going, all these people are talking, I don't know what they're talking about. And then your attention is taken away. When you're in person, you have to focus a bit harder. You have to listen to what they're saying. And then sometimes you're trying to wonder, how can I escape? And so where possible, if you're networking in person, if possible, try and have a buddy. Because the buddy can save you from, this person is boring me now, I want to go. Like, JD, save me.
No.
But, and it's sometimes tips for networking are, what's your plan? What are you actually going there to do? I used to be guilty of just going to anything and everything and having a great time and being so happy to be there. Now I'm at a level in business where I have to be, my time is restricted, but because I'm working, but even more so, I have to be really clear about what am I going here to get? What is the cost benefit analysis of me going to this particular event or talking to these particular people? Because sometimes you can be going somewhere and it's not actually valuable to your business. So I'm not in the field of agriculture. So unless a farm or an agriculture business wants to work with me in terms of understanding government or understanding business relationships, I can't sell them a tractor. I don't work for those people. And so sometimes you can be using the wrong tool in the right season.
Yeah.
And networking is a great tool, but you also have to kind of just be a little bit more the same way you have preferences in foods. It's okay to say, well, I don't really like going to that particular networking event because it's just not me. It's not me. And that's okay, because I think sometimes in life you're trying to force it and sometimes it's just not working. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That is okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because the point you was making about making it intentional and having a clear plan. Because we, at the last event, we done speed networking.
Yes.
So it's like 30 seconds, pitch yourself. And, we had some people complain, that's not long enough, I couldn't finish. We just started speaking, how am I going to, that's not long enough, right? But the point of it is to emphasize getting your point across, not, going off track. Pitch what you need, talk about the relevant points, because it's like networking, right? Someone in a room who's networking, they're not going to stand there talking to you and dedicate the whole evening to talking to you.
You never know in life.
Yeah.
You never know, but it's highly unlikely.
Yeah, but the emphasis was on how to get your business across clearly, precisely, without losing the person on the other side who you're talking to.
Yeah.
And then once we said that, then I think it was starting to get across to people, okay, now we understand why they was rushing us. Because we could give them 15 minutes, pitch your idea, but you're going to speak to one person at the whole event. But what we done was 30 seconds, rotate, and then at this point they've spoken to everyone. So now they know who was relevant to them and who they want to connect with further. But yes, networking is, like you said, in person is a completely different thing, because when you're doing it online, you might not get a reply. Some people are a little bit more braver online, which is, it's fine as well. But in person, you can ask as many questions. The person's right in front of you.
But going back a step on networking, the person could be right in front of you, but sometimes people, I think they fail to appreciate the tools they have in their hands. So most people have a smartphone.
Yep.
And sometimes networking can be a tool that people can use when they're networking. You can be at a conference or an event and you don't want to ask a question. However, how do you get the spotlight on you and your business? Because you've got 300 people in a room and I need to get them to focus on, well, Tash Pennant's here. So what do? I run Tash Pennant Consultancy, where I help people to access information and opportunity for transformational success. That's very small, very clear. But how do you get the spotlight on you? Ask a question.
No.
And ask a smart question where the person responding has to work their brain. Because if you ask them, well, how do you start your business then? You're at a business conference, you kind of can Google that. What was the driver for you making the decision to transition from doing X to Y? And it's that thing of, use ChatGPT to kind of like think of some questions, have them in your back pocket. So when everyone else is asking these questions, put your hand up, go to the mic and say, I want to ask a question, please. And then announce yourself, say, my name's Tash Pennant, I run Tash Pennant Consultancy, and ask your question. And be very clear and intentional and direct your question to the person you wanted to answer it. So Dragon's Den is a program here in the UK, but also I think there's Shark Tank in America. They have dragons or humans, and they say, well, Peter Jones, I want to work with you because blah, blah, blah. Deborah Meaden, I want to work with you because it's how are you intentional in, I need to get somebody's attention. So there's a guy called Stephen Bartlett, Diary of a CEO. But here's the deal. Somebody shoot their shot and they said, I want to do this. I want to get this done. And it's that thing of, you have to stand out amongst the crowd of people that are saying, look at me, look at me. And so networking can be a very useful marketing tool, which causes people to pay attention to you and say, I need to find out more. I need to Google more. And what do you actually do? How does it work?
Yeah.
Then again, how can I work with you?
Mm-hmm.
And then they become a client, and then they can give testimonials to others and say, you should work with these people. You should work with Tash.
Yeah. Yeah, like we mentioned as well with like QR codes, if you have a little business card, which some people did. So when 30 seconds were up, they're like, 30 seconds up, here's my business card if you want to get in touch. QR codes take you to websites, social media pages. So yeah, that's very important in terms of networking and being intentional with it. But yeah, like for those who aren't as confident, what would you?
If you're not confident to network, this is going to sound really harsh, but you need to go to the gym, of course, the confidence gym. And I'm saying that intentionally because I have a gym subscription, and I'm laughing because I haven't really been gymming too much. But in business, you're going to have to work muscles that sometimes feel a bit weak, or sometimes you need to outsource it. So, for example, management of your diary, get a VA. That's what you need to do. Or use online scheduling tools like Setmore, Calendly, Google, whatever it is, use that. But sometimes, just like in life, so I don't know about you, but I have to take the bins out. And the bins have to go out on a Thursday night for a Friday morning because they come at 7:30 without fail. If I do not do that, the next bin collection for, I think it's general household kind of gubbins, not recycling, is another week. It's like a 2-week cycle. I'm thinking, here's the problem with that. If you don't address it and deal with it, it's going to build up and build up and build up. And what was a little kind of, I'm not sure. How do you eat an elephant? And I don't really go out eating elephants. It's like one bite at a time. How do you eat a frog? One bite. How do you do these things? Sometimes you're going to have to go into the mental gym of your psychology and work out, well, I find it a struggle. So I can use myself as an example. I find it a struggle sometimes to tell people what I do because I've been so used to, and what I did previously, I could tell you about everybody else. And in my business coaching sessions with Danielle, she's like, Tash, what's going on here? Tell me about you. Practice with me. So find a buddy to practice with. So the same way that you've got time to go and sit down and have coffees and chats about, well, did you see the latest this? Did you see what so-and-so said on social media? Blah, blah, blah. Take that time and be very intentional and say to a friend or a coworker, would you help me with this? Is this okay? Because more than likely they'll say yes. And sometimes going to the gym by yourself is not very exciting, but I participate in classes. Well, I have done. And I found classwork is much easier than being on, I don't know what you call it, the lifting bits of. I've done my gym. I think the funniest thing would be I get gyms. I've touched every piece of equipment. Now this is really good, really good. Yeah. It's like, Tash, you don't use them. Yeah, I go to the classes. But when you're in a group, so with Trampolinecic or with other people that support people in business, sometimes the confidence part comes sometimes just talking to someone and saying, I'm kind of not really strong on this bit. Would you help? But also when you're training together to get business, imagine how much your confidence grows. Imagine how much your skill level grows. So when somebody says to you, JD, what do you do and how can you help me? Because you've practiced in private, you're ready to go. Because imagine if Usain Bolt kept turning up to the track and didn't train. I'd just be like, why are you here? Yeah. You're representing Jamaica and you've done no training and you come to the start line to run a race against the UK, America, this country, that. I'm thinking, are you mad? Yeah. So get ready for race day. Every day is a race day.
We put a lot of emphasis as well in our classes, like when there's new members joining. We'll go around and say, okay, so tell us a little bit about your business. And some will be really confident and they'll tell us, so this is what we do. This is our target audience. You can find us here. But some have no idea. But we emphasize how important it is to have a pitch mentally remembered because you don't know who you're going to be speaking to, who's going to be in the room. And you need to be able to get that across without having to think about it. Because if you're having to think about what your business is, the listener's going to be thinking,
But I would come back and say some people that have great memories, that's not their skill set. Yeah. And so this is a very old example, but there was a singer called Dusty Springfield. And I think her song was the only man that could ever reach me was the son of a preacher man. And Dusty Springfield used to write her lyrics on her hands. So when you see her sing and did all these actions, she was reading off her hands. And sometimes in neurodivergent situations, opposed to neurotypical, I think we become more aware of actually somebody has a different need to what I used to receiving it. So if you were deaf and I'm just trying to talk to you, it's like, Tash, you realize that you're going to have to sign to me to help me understand what you were saying. And I think in business today, there's so much more awareness of people's different needs. So an example would be on the train today, they had this little girl just talking to me, and then she kept saying, it's so loud, it's so loud. So she had some ear defenders. Sometimes networking, because everyone's talking and you've got a high ceiling, it's really loud. And for me, I could struggle to concentrate. And so I might say, oh, can we just move to the side for a bit so where it's a bit quieter so I can hear what they're saying, but also I can concentrate, hear my own thoughts.
No.
Because it can just be really buzzy, but actually the buzz can be really distracting. I'm thinking, I can't think. I actually cannot think. I need to get to a moment where I can just literally reset and go, this is what I'm talking about. So with the needs of different people across the patch or industries and sectors, networking can be really supportive, really great, but also sometimes it's that thing about how am I going to work out how I navigate this situation with all these distractions around me, and I want to tell them about my business. Or sometimes it just feels like, but they're so impressive. I'm thinking, mate, everyone has to pay tax to HMRC right now, so you better get telling people about your business.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that say, we don't want to talk about the business openly because we're not ready. We don't feel confident. But like you said, everyone's got their own unique styles, and that's an important thing to remember. There's no one way that is right and wrong. As long as you try and you do it, take action, it's going to result in something potentially, like the water example again.
Come on.
The small drop, and it's going to, you're going to build that confidence.
And the muscle, it's a muscle. I think one of the things that I'm working my business coach on is the motto for her is think big, take action, keep pushing. And sometimes it feels like, this is hard. But how are you going to progress to the next level? So if you've made £10,000 in your business to date, and then how are you going to get to 20? How are you going to get to 30? How are you going to get to £100,000, $500,000 or $250,000, $500,000, millions? How are you going to do that unless you keep adding pressure to get to the next level? Because if you keep doing the same thing, you keep getting the same results. What about if you try something different? So I come from a Caribbean background. So my grandparents are 3 parts Jamaican, 1 part Catition. I can remember that. And so spice and things like that in the food. Just imagine if we were stuck on salt and pepper for the rest of our days. I'd be like, this is not the way forward. In different cultures, they have different spices. Blend it, mix it together, try something different. Do something different in your business. Have a go. And if it's not working, just take that one out. So if that is the wrong spice for you, take it out. Swap it out.
It comes back to taking action instead of I read a quote, it was, well done is better than well said. Because you can say a lot, I've got this plan, I've got that, but actually executing it.
I like that. Well that, JD.
Done.
Well done is better than well said. I'm taking that away from today.
Because you can talk and then, but action, if you actually take action and, then that's better, isn't it? Like, even I thought about it. It's such a simple.
Like that. It's really resonated with me. Well done is better than well said.
And I was like, that is powerful.
It is definitely.
But yeah, so like, another thing, a common obstacle for like startups is time management. We don't have time, I'm too busy. Obviously, everyone has unique situations. How do you go about time management?
Well, here's the good news. The good news in terms of time management, I use myself as an example and a story. So in one part of my journey, I have been a work coach with the Department of Work and Pensions. That was when I moved from London back to Nottingham, and I'd done a job, my 3rd job, and then I was a work coach. And I was always baffled when people would say to me they had no time to do what they agreed to do. And so there's this pie chart which says there's 40 hours for working, something for sleeping, something for this, and something to start your own business. So I'd ask them, well, what are you doing? Like, talk me through your day. And when you begin to time block and break down your day, so if you need to do admin work and you hate it, you could do it right at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
If you need to make sales calls and follow up with people, choose an hour. The way that AI now says is apps that will literally put in all your activities and you estimate what you're going to do, and they will tell you this is the way you should plan your day. Another way is the Pomodoro technique, and essentially there is like these timers. So years ago, there used to be like one timer, like an egg one or a tomato one,
Mm-hmm.
and you set it to 20 minutes for the kitchen. This is what I had literally, there's something I had to do the other week. I literally set my my phone for 20 minutes and I was like, I need to focus and write this thing. And yes, I had interruptions and kind of distractions, but I kept saying, I see the time going down. And that kind of it wasn't pressure, it's more the fact of you do realize this bit here will help you to make money.
Mm-hmm. That timer thing, funny enough, I done the same thing because I was struggling because I will list out everything I need to do.
Yes.
But then I'll start a little bit of this and then I'll jump over to this, which is very easy with phones and when you're on laptops, change tabs to this. In marketing, I might be making a LinkedIn post and I'm like, okay, I'll leave that halfway, then I jump to a YouTube, whatever it is, right? Yeah. But when I put the timer there, not just put a timer then lock it, I had it visually in front of me. So I saw
the panic is on.
I'm sitting here, it's gone from 60 now down to 55. And I'm like, okay, so it pushes you, right? And it's a great motivator in that sense.
Definitely time management, but also sometimes, so for me now with my time in terms of my business, for this month, I've done something called Forward into February where people could book half an hour and we had a chat. But then most of my time in terms of wanting to meet online, it's called Time with Tash. And Time with Tash is either 30 minutes or 60 minutes, and people have to pay to get access to that, to get access to the information opportunities they want or the knowledge that they want, because I'm mindful of, I've spent years doing this, nearly 20 years of working, and it's like being a chef. When you start cooking, you might start making, and this is really interesting to me, beans on toast was never a meal. It was like a snack. Yeah. If you are cooking, you're making a full pot of rice and peas and chicken and oxtail, fish, and that's what cooking was. So heat and eat things like chips and chicken nuggets. I grew up in a situation where we were cooking our food from scratch. So I didn't know about, beans on toast is a meal. I was like, no, beans on toast is a snack. Yeah. However, in business, what you find is just like you have a Michelin star chef and they've got different stars, depending on how long you've been doing what you're doing, but how you can have experience and you need to have expertise. So when people speak to me, I'm really clear that I've spent my time sharpening my knife in my craft. So when I make a connection, I've already checked both sides. I know this is what you need. This is what this side needs. This is what this side is offering. You guys are a good connection. The other side to it is you have to be really accurate in your information, because the way how things are moving, forget AI, yesterday's call can be different from today's call. Like yesterday's price can be different from today's price. So how do you keep accurate with your expertise? You have to be developing yourself in reading and understanding, and also sometimes just spending time thinking. And so going back to that point of, there's so many different things that you can kind of integrate, but it's more the fact of, have you got experience and expertise with what you're doing? And if you haven't, you need to get a bit sharper, because if you kept trying to cut, I don't know, a tomato or an apple with a blunt knife, you'd just be like, well, maybe I should just use a spoon then, isn't it? Yeah. Use the right tool for the job.
Yeah, no, 2 points on that. So another quote, I think I watched a video of Jeff Bezos, and it was about, there's no such thing as stressful work. It's more, you know what you need to do. It's just, you're not getting it done.
Yes.
Once you get it done, there's no stress. Yeah. It's just you're creating the scenario in your head, but you're putting off the important thing. And that's another thing, like you mentioned, the admin stuff. It's easy for like business owners or individuals to tick off the little things. Admin reply to this email, and it looks like on paper that I've ticked off 10 tasks, but the main one in the middle is the one that's going to move you forward with your business. So have you experienced that? Or
of course, all the time. I think it's that thing of, when you set yourself a financial goal in your business, and for accountability. If you've not got anybody to hold you accountable, I really suggest you get an accountability partner, get a business coach, work with Trampolinecic, work with Be The Boss International, work with them. Because the problem that we have is that I and myself, if it was left to me, I'd possibly just eat everything in the world. and just feel happy. However, the accountability for me personally is if I eat everything in the world, the clothes that I'm wearing today, I won't be able to wear them in a few weeks because I've eaten everything in the world. And so the accountability part comes with, oh my gosh, I need to be able to fit into my clothes to be able to come have a meeting with you rather than tracksuit and hoodie, because most people are used to me being in this way, as opposed to, well, we met her before and she was kind of, smartly dressed. And then all of a sudden she just come here in a tracksuit. And just the accountability side of, Tash, what are people expecting with your brand? What are your brand values? And I think the accountability side is going back to the money side. Is well, what were the financial targets you set for your business, Tash? Oh, so you're doing, I need to arrange all of these emails in alphabetical order. So when I attach it to my CRM system, this will happen. Sorry, you need to do what? A client's waiting for a proposal, and you're just like, oh, I just don't know. Sorry, this bit will make you money. This bit is going to help you to
feel like you've
achieved.
Yeah.
Okay, how are you going to pay for my service? It's a sobering thought when you want to have all these things connected, like your Zooms, your Calendlies, all these kind of things. Like, well, who's going to pay the bill for that? When you look at the reaction of your, when you look at your bank account, and think, oh, that's because I focused on keeping first things first. Stephen Covey has a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He talks about first things first. If you are constantly focused on the last things and the minutiae, which in some cases are really good. So if you're an athlete and you want to get 1% quicker and you're running and stuff like that, that makes sense. If you're in business and at some point you're just thinking, well, why am I spending my time tidying and sweeping when I can just hire somebody who actually likes to do tidying and sweeping, and the money that I make on things that I do really well, I can pay them. So it's accountability, but also putting the tasks in the right space, but also training yourself to think, is this bit going to make me money? There's a book called Will It Make the Boat Go Faster by an Olympian. I can't remember his name. Thinking, well, if it's not making the boat go faster, what we're doing? But it's really nice. I just like decorating it. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And being a bit harsh with yourself, thinking, well, will this help towards the end goal? And that sometimes can be something that you struggle to do outside of yourself. So someone else is going to say to you, like, why are you keeping this? Oh, because I always, no. Yeah. One time I moved house and my friend came to help me move, and he literally was just going, you don't need that. You don't need that. But when I looked at how I moved and what I moved with, it was his Ruth. It's like, no, you don't need that. You don't need that. Are you actually using this? No. And it was that very ruthless approach of, is this serving you right now? Was it in a season that it did serve you? Great. If it's not, you don't need it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought about, the book Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
It's a compounding effect.
By James Clear, right?
I believe so, yeah. And that obviously emphasizes compounding effects of small actions, 60 days to form a habit if you do it consistently. But yeah, the whole accountability, obviously, when you're your own business owner, your own boss, it's very difficult to hold just because you don't have someone, senior saying, I want this done by this day. But then there's the whole thing that people at work, they will do the task that their manager tells them immediately. But for themselves, they wouldn't take action immediately. They'll put it off. But it's like, so if your boss tells you to do something, you take action straight away. But if you want to do something for yourself, you don't prioritize it. So that's another weird thing like that.
You're going to have to trick your psychology with that one. And so there's two things for me. So I'm a practicing Christian. And so one of the things I've had to say about my business is God is my CEO, I'm a director, and that's very clear. And so I'm like, okay, if I believe that, it's like, well, what would the CEO expect me to do as a director? And so you have people in position, and even with your own career, if you're employed or self-employed, you have to take a position point of, do you always have to be motivated? No, you have to be disciplined. And sometimes that's tough. And having someone tell you what to do all the time, for some tasks and roles in life and jobs in life, that's for them. When you're running your business, you're going to have to be chief cook and bottle washer, cleaner, phone answerer, chaser up person, finance department. And I think it's good to have that experience, because then when the business gets bigger and someone's telling you, oh, Tash, I can't do that bit because this, and I said, is that so? All right, then. Tell you what, follow me. I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to speak to the person about the invoice that is due and remind them of our payment terms and remind them of the payment terms when payment is late. And so I wish them all the best with that, but this is what our terms and conditions are.
Yeah.
And then it's that thing of, well, when you're telling people to do something, have you done it yourself? When you have, it's like, situations might be different depending what the years are. But I'm thinking, no. If nobody could test me in my business on how things work, because I had to do it myself before I had other people answering the phone saying, hello, Tash Pennant Consultancy.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. What I like about you said it's about discipline more than motivation, because motivation is temporary. It comes in bursts. Before you go to bed, you're going to, like, I've experienced this. I'll say, tomorrow I'm going to do this. I'm going to,
Tomorrow starts the night before, so I can't steal that. That was from Claudia Reed, MBE. I remember I went to her company and she did a training session with her staff. The funniest thing happened, the person she booked couldn't make the speaking engagement, so she ended up just doing it with her staff. And I remember her saying, tomorrow starts the night before. So if you are waiting till the morning for the motivation to write things down, it's like, no. The day before, when you're trying to possibly got the last of your energy, try and make a list of what I'm going to do tomorrow. Because that way you're setting the intention of, I am going to achieve this, I'm going to achieve that. Because by the time you get up in the morning, you might say, oh, all these things. Literally the day before yesterday, I had calls right from the beginning. And had I not had a list or intention of things to do, that would have wiped out me actually doing things for the business. It's something of reactivity. You need to be really clear on, how am I going to engineer something as opposed to wait for it to happen.
Yeah, that reminds me of have you seen the movie with Serena Williams, Will Smith?
Yes, King Richard. Yes.
He says to his girls, he goes, a man with no plan is a man planning to fail. Something along the lines of that, right? And that's, some things are so obvious, but when you hear it out loud, you're like,
there's obvious and there's practice. And I think what you said about well done is better than well said, I'm taking that away from today, because I think sometimes you can talk yourself into a plan, talk yourself into something, when actually, what have you done? What have you actually done today? And when you hold the mirror up to your actions, I think, well, this is in the talking queue or talking pile, there's loads of stuff. In the action plan, it's like, well, what have you actually got to show for it?
That's business, especially. Like, there's a lot you can offer. A lot. I can do this for you. I can offer you this. Okay, so show me some of your previous work, or what have you helped? Who have you previously helped? And you're like, and then that's the whole well done is better than well said, because you can sell it.
But even if you don't have previous work and previous clients, I think sometimes what you can do in your business is begin to offer. And so some things I've done in my business previously was to offer sessions to build capacity. So when I think I'm great at some things, and then I'm now in this second, what do you call it, 2.0, the Tash Pennant Consultancy. It's like, well, you're not testing this. Like, you've got like so many case studies, track records, and millions of pounds of actual business being done from the information that you said. But at the start, it's like, well, I think I'm really good at this, but how do I prove it? Find opportunities to prove yourself. And it's almost like going to the gym and training for the race that nobody's called you for yet. And so how do you train for something that you're not even on the listing for? So keep going, because one day or someday when the call comes in, you're ready for it. And they won't be asking for you to show you things. They may have heard about you from far away. It's like, you know what, we heard about you and what you've been doing. How can we work with you? And my invoice details are this, because one key thing in business, keep your eye on the money. Because sometimes we say, I want to help. How it works is helping is also a service. It's benefiting others, and they need to be able to open their checkbook or open their budget accounts and pay, because that's how a circular economy works. So I can then go into my favorite supermarket and buy my favorite tea. So yes.
On that point, it's like, with like the whole with businesses, you know, I was just talking to you, you're very like motivated about what you do. You must have a vision, and a plan. You have a plan, a vision, and you know that's another thing that, you know, at Trampoline we like to have a look at before we take on cohort members. Is it just, you know, Claudine's mentioned before, if it's a hobby, like you can do your thing, but if it's a real business idea and you're serious, we can help you. So vision, planning.
So vision and planning. So the reason why I keep referring to Daniela Genius, you should really have her on this podcast, is there's two sides to it. In the Bible, there's a scripture, it says, write the vision and make it plain. I think it's Joel 2 verse 2. And it's something like, why would you do that? Because here's the thing, in your mind's eye, you're trying to work out what's going on. How do I have something to aim for? And so if you don't write down the vision, if you don't actually say, I want to get this thing done, even if it seems so outlandish, aim for it. Because what if you actually aim for the sun and the moon and you get the stars? You are winning. So you have to get the vision out of you, write it down, and then keep it before your eyes. And by that, I mean, keep it as your screensaver, keep it on your wall, keep it in the kitchen on the fridge, because every time you're like, oh, I just have this, stick it there. Keep it in a place where it's... So one of the exercises Danielle had me do was actually record myself speaking about my vision. And I thought, it's so easy to do it for the people. But when I hear myself saying, this is what you are going to do, this is how it's going to feel, I'm like, oh, it adds air to your balloon and gives you fuel for your fire. So when the days when it's like, this is really hard, I feel like giving up, I put in my ears and hear myself saying, this is what the vision is. This is what you're going to achieve. And you know what? It's working. So vision is so important. I really admire and respect the fact that how the way that Trampoline works concerning asking me, well, what are you trying to get done? Because sometimes you start a journey like, oh, wrong mountain. I'm like, You need to be really clear about what you're doing in your life.
Yeah. And it's like you don't want to waste someone else's time and your own time, realistically, right? Do you have a vision board?
Yes, I did it with Daniela. I did a session called Vision 20. I've had vision boards throughout my life, but this recent one that I've got, it's just so, you know, when it's so big that you're thinking, well, it's like, no, don't worry about how you're going to get it done. Make sure you put it out there.
Yeah, make sure it's visible.
You've got to put it out there. You've got to have something to aim for. Because imagine you're running a race and there's no finish line. It's like, well, do you keep just running around in a circle at the Olympics? No, there's something called a finish line. And then the reason why athletes who are 100, 200 meter runners, they dip at the end is because their head will go over the line with that dip. And that's the difference between one country winning a gold and another person getting silver. So genuinely, vision is so important.
Yeah, like I've done my vision board for the first time. Like,
what?
This is the first year that
JD, get a grip on your life. Come on, come to the vision side. We need you.
Because there'll be a lot of years where you get to the end of the year and you're like, what have I achieved? But you might have achieved a lot, but it's not visually. I'm like, I need something visual.
Okay.
Because I'm someone who will do a lot.
Yeah.
That might have like some successes, but I'm always looking for, you know, the next one, which is.
I'm intrigued. So how do you count your wins? How do you count your wins? How do you count your bank account of wins?
I don't.
When you're feeling like, I cannot do this anymore, do you not look at something and say, hey, you're good at this. You've won this. This is, help me understand.
I mean, the recent one we can talk about is YouTube. I
know, because I researched you. Like, you're huge.
So I hit the million views mark.
Yeah,
so for that, I was like, I want to get something visual. So I got like a little photo. That says, you know, my name, my account name, and congrats on 1 million views.
That's right.
It's easy to, like, I was really excited on the day, but now I'm like, what's the next milestone?
3 million, 5 million, 10 million.
So that's
Mr. Beast 1 million type things.
That's the hard thing. Like like myself, like I'm always trying to top, but like sometimes you need to step back and just think.
Every month. So for me, every month, actually every week, but every month, I had to have like a bank account session with what have you actually achieved? Except it was weekly because I'm in a coaching program. But when I was salaried, I needed to have like what have you actually done? Because part of the challenge is you keep going. You have challenge, obstacle. And then you get to a point where you're like, well, what have I actually done? And then when you look at that, there's all of this, and all of this, and all of this, and all of this, and that happened. I'm just like, get a grip.
That's why I've started keeping a diary.
Yes.
So every day I put tasks in there. So then end of the day, I can see clearly what was in there, what I haven't done, then carry it over.
Yeah.
But before it was just like, I'll do so many things, but I'll be like, end of the day, like, didn't really feel like I achieved anything today. But then having it there in that diary, you can reflect back, okay, you've been...
And see, you'll chart your growth as well, because I always say to people, when people say you've changed, and I say this to people now, if I was the same person that I was at 2 years old, and I'm now 42 at the time of recording this podcast, I'd be concerned. Because if you stay the same at 2 years old and you don't grow, so when babies are born, we expect them to grow, we feed them, we look after them, and then walking, talking, that type of thing, mashed food to solid food. If in life you are not growing, you get to a point where you're thinking more about your growth mindset.
No.
If you're constantly in a place where you're just not growing, you have to ask yourself, am I in the right soil, or is this for me?
Yeah.
And growth is really important. And the only way you can chart your growth is when you look back and say, well, I did all this, this, and this.
It's always a good way to take 5 years off your life, or 10 years, go back in time. Where was you?
Yeah.
Where are you now? That's always a good, like, okay. Like,
but also 10 years ahead.
Yeah.
Where do you want to be?
Yes.
What do you want to, who are you as a person? Because sometimes when you look at your life and think, well, what have I actually done?
Having vision boards and goals makes it more, you can put a time scale, if that makes sense. If you just go with the flow, then something that could have taken 2 years might take 5 or 10. But that's what I've seen. Like, I've put my vision board's quite clear. It's just single, right? So I can see what's left on there and update it as it goes. And it's just when I made it, you have to think what are you trying to achieve.
I found it so hard to do the Vision 20 session because one of the things is I'm a planner. I like to write things down and write things down. Sometimes you just let it flow, and I become better at letting it flow, because sometimes you're always trying to, well, I've got to have the right container, and the container's got to be this shape. It's like, hold on a second. If you've got the flow running, just let it go. Stop being so rigid in your thinking.
Yeah.
And as a business owner, I'm having to be more flexible in how I see it, because sometimes the consultancy or advisory service or connectional speaking service that I offer, for example, when NatWest asked me to speak for them, they said, actually, tell us your journey from car washer to CEO, and tell us your whole life journey. So when I was speaking on that wasn't part of what I do as keynotes. But they said, we want this. Can you be flexible rather than, oh no, don't do that bit.
Yeah.
Yes, I do that bit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, look, I'm sure we can talk like
I know we could, right?
We could go on for hours. But I'm just a bit mindful of time.
I know.
So on Trampoline Podcast, we finished with the quickfire question.
Go for it.
So from memory, best piece of advice you've ever received? Best
piece of advice I've ever received is don't take things personally.
Yeah. And what was it about that?
Because I'm 100%er as a person, I do take things personally. I worry about it. It bothers me. But in business, sometimes it's not about you. It can be about them. And it's helping me to process, they just want to choose something different. It's not a personal thing. It's a business thing. Yeah. And that's okay.
Second one is, where do you see yourself or Tash Pennant Consultancy in 5 years?
In 5 years' time, internationally, growth, more speaking, more consulting internationally, but even more so specifically, I'll be working in different hot countries. So when I'm having leisure, so I'm doing business and leisure. I've hit some really good financial milestones that I've set. In addition to that, I'll be living in a different setting. So looking forward to that. But even more so, there'll be people answering the phone saying, hello, Tash Pennant Consultancy. And I find that really weird, because I answer my phone saying, hey, Tash Pennant, or hi, it's Tash. And I'm thinking, that's weird, because they'll be answering the phone as your name and brand. So that's what's happening in 5 years' time.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool vision, to be fair. The last one is your favorite part of running a business.
My favorite part of running the business is actually it's working with different clients, because sometimes what you thought it was going to be, depending on what they're saying, because I find they'll give you a whole heap of stuff to read and say this is what it is, and then you get a decline and I think, hold on a second, what you told me and what I'm reading, the problem or the challenge is not necessarily this, it's actually that. And then it's that there's an anecdote of a story where someone sent a £10,000 invoice, and the reason why you're looking to the window is because it feels like the rain's trying to come in on it.
Yeah.
But they sent a £10,000 invoice, and on the invoice it said £9,998 for the knowledge, £2 for the screwdriver. It's that thing of, if you've got the knowledge to know where to tap on the factory, the machine to make it go and stop causing a problem to the business, people are like, well, why would you charge that much? It's like, because I've sharpened my skills, my expertise and my knowledge. I'm accurate in what I do. This is why this level of advisory and consultancy costs that, because I get results. So that's that one there.
Yeah. And obviously you've got the portfolio behind you, and like you said, sharpening the tools.
You need to count your wins. If you don't count your wins, it's almost like, I think until I started doing that, I just felt like I'm not doing anything. And then you think, hold on a second, I've done this, I've done that, So that's why I'm really better at managing that, because sometimes you think you haven't got anywhere, you haven't done anything. If you listen to your self-talk, but your self-talk needs to improve.
Yeah, it's always important to reflect. But yeah, like I said, we can speak all day. I'm sure there's a lot more we can speak about. And
Part two
for sure. All right. But yeah, thanks for coming, Tash.
Thank you for having me.
It's been, it's been good talking to you. I know the viewers are going to take away a lot, and yeah, part two we'll 100% be doing.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.